what do you think it means to be a man? That's a good one, eh?
I think
and boom, we are live. What's up, everybody? Couple Casuals Podcast, episode number 43. I am your host, Stefano. And guys, I got a very special guest for you guys today. You might recognize this guy's face. My guest today is one of Toronto's top realtors, and he's actually one of Toronto's top realtors. You know, everybody's a top realtor nowadays, but this man is actually one of Toronto's top realtors. He is the host of the Price to Sell podcast. And guys, to be honest with you, he's just an overall good guy. So with that being said, I want to bring Matt Campoli to the podcast. Welcome.
freaking pleasure, man.
It's a pleasure. And you're back. Second time.
I'm back. Has there been a number 2?
This is your number. Actually, yeah, there has
there
been.
been a 2-peat yet?
There's been a couple of returns. I had Exit the Matrix twice.
Yes.
I had a Rebecca twice, which we'll kind of get into now. So that's where I got to kind of start. Okay, so this is where we got to start. I got to start with a little bit of a story time from my buddy Matty C. Because for a lot of people that I don't know, you played a big part in my podcast development. And I'm going to explain so. So let me give you your flowers for 2 seconds, and then we'll get into the podcast.
Okay.
So when I started the pod, I released it. I'm like, okay, first of all, that was a nerve-wracking process for me. I don't know if you had that experience, like getting on camera and like putting yourself in a vulnerable situation, like subject to judgment and stuff. I was excited to do it, but a little bit like nervous too. Like, fuck, you know, what's people going to think?
Yeah, me too.
And you were one of the first guys to reach out to me, bro. I remember. And you were like, yo, it's awesome that you're doing this. Like, good for you, this, that, and the third. But you coming from a guy who was in podcasting too, you never looked at it like a competition. You never looked at anything like that. You were very embracing of it. And to me, at that time, that little bit of like, yo, fucking good on you, bro. From a guy who was doing it too, we were friends too, but to have that little vote of confidence was big for me. So then we fast forward a bit. One night at Early Mercy, we see each other. Shout out to Early Mercy. And then I'm telling you, I want to have you on the pod. So you come on, Couple Casuals Podcast, episode number 5. I bring my buddy Matty C on. He comes on, we have a good conversation, and then at the end of the conversation, you say, we're looking for a third host for the It's Simple podcast. Got to give a big shout out to Zoe as well. Both you guys brought me on It's Simple podcast. And then me being on It's Simple podcast, it really helped me kind of transcend my podcasting experience. And I became a better communicator. I learned how to collaborate and work with other podcasters and other people. And that was very big for me. And then even a step further, another beautiful thing, from the It's Simple podcast, then I met my fiance, Rebecca. So I like to look back sometimes and go, oh, this is how this happened. This is how this happened, bro. I don't know if you do that too, but it kind of all started from you, bro. Yeah. So I want to say thank you, bro.
Man, it's an honor to, be a part of that,
Yes, sir.
Like having the things sprout.
Can you believe it? Do you ever do that, man? Do you ever look back at things and go, oh, this is how this happened?
Well, think about it. It's like, you're at the crossroads. You're one decision away. You're a no away from maybe not meeting Rebecca.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like imagine I didn't bring you on the pod. Imagine you didn't end up saying, come on the It's Simple podcast. Because you obviously, you saw you were looking for a third host. You're like, oh, Steph, you're pretty good. Come on. Like I was relatively green in the game, but that vote of confidence was big for me. And then I look back and I'm like, fuck, bro, you kind of helped a lot. Like by that little pivot, really kind of helped a lot. So that's why I wanted to kind of bring you on today. It's a good feeling for me because I look back at the journey and like how it kind of played in, and that time on It's Simple podcast, working with you guys and just finding myself as a communicator and stuff was big for me. So that's where I kind of want to preface the conversation, but I want to do a deep dive today. That's what we're going to do, bro. We're going to have a fun conversation. It's going to be good. But we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on, we're not going to talk about real estate and stuff like that as much because I'm sure you're probably done that a couple times already.
Yeah, a couple times.
We don't need to talk about inflation, how the Liberals are destroying Canada and stuff like that. We've already done that. We've done that.
Yeah, done that.
Today we're going to do a deep dive on Matt. So I kind of want to talk about values. I want to talk about relationships, but not just relationships like intimate relationships with everything, like a lot of things, your friends, family, money, materials, etc. And then I want to talk about vision. So I guess the best way for us to start is with you kind of helping me and just the way you service people in the real estate industry. Is acts of service, is that something that you appreciate and that you actually seek out, or does it happen as a consequence of just being you? Like when you gave me those compliments or that vote of confidence, it led to other good things. And then when you sell somebody a house and you help them or get the best deal, are you consciously like, I want to help these people, or is it you just being you and it happens?
I think it's a mix of both. But I think there's like to provide the best value. There's like, so I was just reading, I just finished Patrick by David's.
Oh, did you?
Your next 5
move?
moves, right?
Oh, yeah.
And there's a chapter where it's funny because he mentioned a real estate agent came up to him in Vegas. Oh no, it was a conference.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, love what you do. Blah blah blah. My name's this. By the way, if you're ever looking for real estate in Vegas, let me know. And Patrick's just like, let me stop you there for a second. So he went into this whole tangent. It's like value. It starts with providing as much value as you can first, without asking for anything in return.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's like the most valuable thing. And what happens is you'll end up getting more in return. So that's just kind of how I operate.
So the mindset is provide people with value, and then in turn it comes back to you.
It comes back tenfold, you know? And I didn't even, it wasn't like I went into that, especially like 2-3 years ago when all this was happening, with like that actual factual knowledge. I just felt like that was the right thing to do. So that was just how I am. That's just how I am. More of a, I'd rather just give than take kind of guy. Kind of been like that.
So you think it's just that's genuinely a part of your personality. So it's somewhat of a conscious effort, but then at the same time, it's just innate. It's a part of you.
It's innate. Now I'm more aware of it, like being okay. It actually, like, wow, I've been doing this, but this is actually like what these greats are saying to do too. So it's like, kudos to you, Matt. You've been doing it kind of organically this whole time, and no wonder why you've seen a ton of results and all these things kind of coming to me. So, like now it's a mix of like education and knowledge and maybe, tweaking things here or there, but more or less, that fulfills me the most, helping people. Especially if I see the talent like you. Like you're freaking, that was the time during COVID, ripping your TikTok videos and stuff and all these things. I'm like, this dude needs to be seen. Like he has to be seen.
Yeah, I know. I remember you telling me that. And and it's not often that a guy, like one of your boys or like, or a guy will come and say to you like, bro, like, yo, good on you, bro. Like, and I remember you sharing some of my stuff in your stories and stuff, and you were just supportive. And I appreciate that. And I look at that as like, it's a rarity almost nowadays. And I feel that there should be more of, especially for guys in a scene like Toronto, where I feel like people are a little bit more, like, competition's good, don't get me wrong, but in a way where it's a productive competition, but then supportive too. Like, we're in this together at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the neighborhood, no pun intended, also like this kind of community that you build. I think that we are stronger together. Helping each other is a big thing. And then little did you know, like, that was a big fucking thing for me, bro, at that time. Because then it also led to other amazing things. So that's huge, bro. Don't ever forget that, because you really helped another person, and that person ends up being me. Because if you didn't give me that vote of confidence and that support to come on It's Simple Podcast, I don't know where I would have been with just Couple Casuals Podcast. Maybe I would have figured it out, but It's Simple Podcast helped me learn so much about podcasting itself, working with other people, collaborating, the functions of business, working with 2 entrepreneurs that are fantastic at what they do. It led me to learn about so much more. And then just as a person, become a better communicator and do all these things. And then leading to fucking a girl that I was really looking for, and like at the time, like I valued that. I valued relationships and stuff, which I want to get into too. Let's talk about values now. We mentioned,
let's do a cheers.
Let's do a cheers. Sorry, buddy.
Quick salute.
I almost forgot about that.
Do a quick salute.
Gotta give a big cheers to my buddy Matt.
Quick salute to the journey.
Salute to the journey, and cheers to everybody listening. And I appreciate you guys coming along the journey too.
Cheers to you guys. That's a good beer, by the way.
Miller Lite. If they want to sponsor, just let us know. But values. Let's talk about values. What does Matt Campoli value? And I want to know that on a deep level, because I think as an individual, values are a very important component to who you are, even before you get into relationships or anything that you do in this life. Have you figured out what you value, and then what is that? And well, let's kind of get into it.
Yeah, like I value obviously people with integrity. So integrity is a big one for me. As I've grown, you can kind of see past the BS with people, certain things. So I value people with integrity. I like to keep those people close. I value my alone time a lot.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes, me
just
too.
time with myself.
Right.
I value education and consistent learning. That's a big one for me. Obviously, my family. Family's a big one for me too. And just pretty much things along those lines. Like on a personal level for me, like selfishly is adventure. Big adventure guy. I'm a huge, very interested in like the mysteries of life in the world, and, like untapping those things all the time. So that ties into like the whole why education is so important to me, why consistently growing as a human being is so important, because I just feel like there's so many like different things we can tap into at like our fullest potential. And majority of us don't our whole life and we die, you know? So I'm kind of obsessed with that.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. And from that, I like to share what I learn. And like helping others is another huge piece of that. So it's like, I'm gonna invest a ton of money in like trying to learn some stuff, do this. And then along the way, let me bring up those people who I truly feel are interested and are wanting to learn, grow with me, you know, get further in life, versus those that don't. Because I've tried where it's like, hey man, hey, let me help you out like this. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? But you can't fix people essentially. They got to want it themselves. So my circle has become a lot smaller. And yeah, if that answers your question.
Which we're going to talk about that further. So I love how you brought all that up. When you say education, that stuck out to me. When you mean education, do you mean like schooling education, or do you mean like self-development education like online, garnering as much knowledge as you can to improve as an individual? Unpack that a little bit.
So for me, it's the two sides to it. There's like the personal side. So educating as a human being.
Okay.
And how to reach your max potential, or try to at least as a human being. So I've gone down the journey there, and I have coaches for that. And then the other side for me is business. So obviously, I am in business. I'm in real estate. So just educating myself on building that business out. So I'm obsessed with both of those pillars. So it's like, how am I going to have my business grow? And then the leadership portion that ties into that. How am I going to lead my team? How am I going to become a better leader? The leadership also ties into the personal side. So all the skill sets I'm developing on the personal side will pour into me being a leader for these people. So like that whole like area of growing as a human all ties in together. So that's what I'm obsessed with.
Yes. That's amazing. They kind of coincide. And
then also obviously my relationships will deepen from that too.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all like a multitude of things that somewhat are related in a way to each other, but it's overall, I guess the motif is learning. You're a learner. And how did you kind of establish these values? Was it through experience? Was it through like consciously finding out what means the most to you by trying things? By how did you establish those values?
Yeah, just organically
Organically
over time.
Okay.
Like what I truly like, you know, if like money was an issue, what would I be doing right now? You know, like what makes me feel the best, right? Is going out and getting hammered with a bunch of people that I may not really know on a deep level. Is that fulfilling to me, or is that empty? No, I don't value that, right? Things like that. I just go, and have I done that a million times? Yeah.
But through trial and experience.
Yeah, exactly. Over time, and I'm still figuring them out, but more or less, my answer to you right now is where I'm at currently. Always evolving, I'd say.
Yeah, we are. We're evolving creatures. That's exactly what we are. You mentioned integrity too at one point. I'm interested to ask you, because I kind of want to go deep a little bit, man, too. What do you think it means to be a good person? Like, because nowadays I feel we're in a stage where being a good person can be cheaply achieved in a way, like through social virtue and stuff like that. But I think like there's certain individuals that actually represent what it means to be a good person. So I'm interested to pick your brain a bit about what do you think are the components and what do you think makes a good person?
Yeah, so that's a deep one.
It's a deep one, yeah.
I think as a whole, like we all may have our different viewpoints on like what makes a human good based on how we are, like our perspectives. But I think as a whole, if you're just, you know, true to yourself, you don't lie. That's a big one.
That's a freaking big one.
One I had to learn about.
Yeah, people miss that one, bro. I'm happy that you said that. I'm sorry to jump in too.
Yeah.
People misinterpret the severity of lying.
Yeah.
Lying is so crucial, and the more you lie, the more you stray away from who you are, who you actually are, and then you start to believe those lies. It goes deep, and there's a whole psychological breakdown on that. But I don't want to take away from what you were saying. So lying, what else?
Yeah, so like tell the truth. I think it kind of ties into like the 4 agreements, that book. Like don't take anything personally. I think that's a big one. Some people like so many like relationships have ended, or friendships or business deals or whatever, because people just take shit personally, you know? So just don't take anything personally, and don't assume things. Just don't assume. If you don't know the answer, don't assume. Try and learn more. And yeah, like there's like things like that as like a basis. I think that's what I respect in a human. So if you're if I can tell that you're complaining and assuming and creating this whole story for yourself, but you never even like maybe approach someone about anything yet. To me, that's a problem, right? It just says a lot about someone. If you're someone that wants to, maybe you don't understand the situation. So like, let's not assume what's going on. Let's not take this personally. Let's try and uncover it. And I could tell, when I have conversations with people, you can tell when people are at that level and when they're not. So more or less, things along those lines, I'd say, are pretty important to me and like who I would choose to be in my circle or not.
One of the things I always loved about you too, bro, is you never gossip, bro. You never gossip or talk bad about people. I've never heard you ever do that, bro.
There's no point.
Exactly. And that's very important because, we come from an Italian, we like to dig. What's the tea? What you got? You got to dig, find out, Yeah. Matt doesn't engage in that. And that's very powerful, bro, because it's common nowadays, right? We're interested in lives and other people and things that are happening. So it's very easy to engage in that sort of mentality and that sort of.
What's the thing? It's like, I'm not really interested in pop culture. I'm not interested in what the Kardashians are doing. I'm not interested in any of that stuff, So it's like, what moves the needle? Am I going to sit down, have a conversation, dinner with my boys and talk about other people? Or are we going to talk about how we're going to better ourselves, what's going on in our lives, how are we going to move forward in life? Like that's the shit I like. I'll do a dinner like that. I'm not going to do a dinner where we're talking about just nonsense.
Yes.
It doesn't do anything for me.
I can't wait to get
And I'll be quiet, man. Like I'll just be there like.
Exactly. You won't engage with it. I've seen it before. You don't engage with gossip or innuendo or like people talking about other people. You feel very uncomfortable with that.
I get very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I like that. I like that about you because that's a representation of a good person.
Yeah. So those are things like I value and how I operate. So I kind of look for the same in others. If I find those people, those are kind of like my tribe.
Exactly.
And if you're not, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
I'm not your person either.
You're not in alignment, which I can't wait to get into relationships with you because friendships and these components of good people, it all relates. Do you think people are born innately good, or do you think that's something we have to develop? Are we born as clean slates, good individuals, like innately good, or are we born from sin? What is have you thought about that? Because there's a little bit of religious reference to that too. But have you thought, like, when you're born, do you evolve into as a consequence of your social environment specifically, or are you a representation of your biological reference, like your parents and how they carried themselves? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, for sure. I think you're definitely born into the environment you're born into. You have no control at that point.
That's true.
You're absorbing everything. You're a sponge, right? I think they say till 7 years old, you're in theta. So your brain is just absorbing everything. If your environment is your parents fighting and swearing at each other and maybe, negative connotations or negative speech around money, rich people, things like that, you're going to carry that with yourself. Like those are belief systems, and you're going to just naturally, not even by choice, just take on because that's the environment you're born into. I think we reach a point as humans where we can decide to draw the line and say, oh, I actually don't, all this stuff that how I've been raised or this environment I'm in, I don't agree with. So let's take ownership and, just let's change myself. Let's reprogram myself. That's only you can decide to do that with yourself. No one's going to help you to do that. Or you just kind of live unconsciously and continue to do that. And then you raise your kids the same way. It's like that generational chain.
Exactly.
So I think at some point along the journey of the generations, there's that one person who breaks the chains.
100%. And I think we're that generation because our generation before us, like our parents' generation, they came from the generation before them that was like migrating here, trying to establish their life. And then our parents didn't really have like emotional intelligence or stuff like they had to fucking work, pay the mortgage down, and when it was achievable to actually do that, and then sustain themselves for the family. How much do you think your environment kind of played into who you are as an individual, good and bad? And I really do feel we are the chain breakers for that. Would you agree to that too? It's kind of a two-part question.
I'd say so for sure.
Yeah.
I'd say to the chain breaker, yes, for sure. Because I definitely have to reprogram myself. And it's funny because when you start doing that, my mom is very curious now, and she's realizing like her things, right? And it's not her fault either. It's just, she was raised at some point. Her mother, father were raised at some point, and is the lack of access and limited access to information in their generation. So it's not their fault. They were, especially, if we're going back to the nonnies, our grandparents grew up in a small Italian village. Population, maybe a couple thousand, with the same last names and shit. So like, you're very limited to information. You just know what you know. You know what you know. And then, you know, coming to Canada, I'm just speaking for like our parents' journey. Again, kind of raised under that household of that same mindset mentality, old school Italian. But again, no access, none of these, no machines, no internet until the 90s. So unless they decided to let me go to the library and let me pick up like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, which was written in the 30s, or something like, let me start to, you know, encourage myself to want to learn, they're just going to live unconsciously. Not their fault. They just know what they know. And then bang, now we're born.
Yeah.
Same patterns. And then it's up to, now we, luckily, had access to a ton of information. We still have access to a ton of information. It's kind of thrown in our face. And we see like these jobs that they're not the professional jobs, not the regular careers that we only knew in high school. Like in high school, like what did you think you could do besides the professional stuff?
Exactly.
Not much.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing like, you know, YouTube, all these like different things of avenues of making money and a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of like, I'm not gonna say forced, but we're really encouraged to like think outside the box now. Like, let me learn about some stuff, you know? So I think this generation, we're blessed to have this information, to want to learn, but still some people are not going to want to learn, you know?
I think our awareness kind of we're more aligned with awareness and we're seeing what's happening now. And I think that's a consequence of like social circles and sharing ideas and seeing other people's success and mentors and stuff like that. But it's not our parents' fault. And I feel that sometimes our generation can provide that they engage with somewhat like resentment, like, oh, my parents never supported me to do this. Firstly, they didn't know any better. It's not their fault. They were doing the best that they could from their heart that they think is the best for you.
Yeah.
So you being a chain breaker, eventually it will pay dividends and help your mom too. My mom has been the same way. She's listened to podcasts now. She takes interest in guys like Jordan Peterson, like other sort of
She always hits me up.
Yeah. Oh, she does. Yeah. She loves your stuff. She loves our content. Like she's very much evolved on many different things. So that's amazing to see that your mom is doing the exact same thing. You see a couple of young boys here just influencing our parents, eh?
Well, they see it works. Like, okay, my son's doing, okay, he's elevating all the time. Maybe I should try some of this stuff. You know, she's reading Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza right now.
Okay.
And I feel like my mom's got like some interesting superpowers on like a spiritual level. She always has. But now she's like, oh my God, Matt, I did this meditation the other day and I felt this and this.
She's meditating too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So she's, you know?
She's evolving.
Yeah.
And in regards to like your social environment and kind of growing up, how did that play into who you are and good and bad, and how did it sort of evolve as time went on?
Huge part. Like I feel like patterns around money for sure, because there's a big like lack, fear, always struggling sort of vibe around the money thing. So I took that, and that's a big deep rooted thing for me. So I overcompensate, and it's like, let me not stop working ever. Let me not chill. I can't chill, or else I'm gonna be broke. You know, it's like those things. So like I have a problem where I just can't stop working. Always like need to do next deal. If I have like a free day, I was telling a friend this yesterday. If I have like a free day, I can't like sit and watch TV. I have to be doing something that's like moving the needle. So I'll sit in my office all day and like waste time. But at least I'm in my office, so I feel good. You know what I mean? Yeah, shit like that. So like those things have like, now that's a big deep rooted thing for me, which I'm aware of though.
Yes.
And you work through it and you turn it into like more of like a abundant type of thing. But stuff around money for sure in the childhood. Just like parents' divorce. So obviously that subconsciously plays a role in my relationships. You know what I mean? All stuff like that, I would say.
It all adds to who you are, and it's good and bad. It's all for like, sometimes we talk about like, oh, you know, my parents or people I look up to are not really good at this, but they're really good at this. And that's beneficial because it's up to you and your awareness to use what is useful and then discard what is not, right? Because they're operating at the best level that they can based on their experience and how they came up. Their upbringing was much different than ours, bro.
Yeah, big time.
Much different than ours.
Big time.
So there's a level of, you know, forgiveness there and a level of work. And that's what I kind of want to talk about now. Let's talk about forgiveness, because that's an interesting thing that I sometimes, when I was thinking what I want to talk to you about, I never really talked about forgiveness too much. So I want to talk about it with you. Have you ever had to forgive, like genuinely, have you ever had to forgive somebody? And if so, how did you kind of work through that?
Like a serious, like, I forgive you?
Or maybe that's something. Well, that's an interesting to travel through too. If forgiveness sometimes doesn't mean to be communicative. You might have to forgive somebody with you. Like let's say a girl broke your heart, or let's say a friend betrayed you, for the benefit of your future and the positive prosperity of yourself. You might have to forgive them in order to move forward. Have you ever had to grapple with it? Because it's a hard thing, man, for men to forgive. So I'm interested.
Yeah. I think like work I've done around, again, like not shared, but like writing letters.
So you've done that before?
Yeah, to certain people.
What did that look like? How like why
Just,
and how?
you have, it's going as deep as possible. Like I forgive you for this, on, in a note, and like kind of vomit it out. So it's like that stuff stored. Just throw it out there. And when you see it all written too, it's helpful. Shit like that I've done.
So you think forgiveness is beneficial and it should be done, or do you think there's times where you shouldn't forgive?
Now we're gonna go pretty biblical.
Sure.
Right.
I love it.
But no, I think there's. I mean, unless it's like murder or things like that, but then you see families still forgiving the killer.
That's true. Yeah, I've seen that too. Like you see those videos of them,
especially people of religion. I think forgiveness is. I think it's a big thing. I think it's a huge thing. I think you should definitely forgive. Because I think you're gonna hold on to. Like I know guys personally who don't forgive, and I just see the pain in them.
You do.
The grudge, man.
Yes.
They'll die with that shit.
Don't you think it's poison?
It's poison.
Yeah.
I agree that it's something like that internally, like you're poisoning your body with all that shit. It's like, imagine you can't. Let's just say you're the type of dude that if you feel betrayed, you cut people off, you never forgive them.
Yes.
But you feel betrayed in your own way. Maybe it wasn't actually like a real betrayal, and then, you just kind of die with that energy in you of never forgiving those people.
It adds up.
Yeah.
It adds up, and that's heavy on the heart. Another thing that's heavy on the heart is ego. Ego is something that men deal with tremendously, but it can be good in some sense where it keeps you accountable because, your ego is a representation of me. I have to show up. I have to do this. I have to keep my word. Like that's somewhat ego, but maybe we can unpack that further. But you as another man and being in a competitive industry like real estate, how have you dealt with ego? And is there ways that you sort of found ways to overcome it, or how has that experience been with you?
Yeah, I think awareness around people and their patterns. I think understanding patterns is huge.
What do you mean by patterns?
So everyone has a pattern, right? Whether it's like, I saw patterns around money as an example. You ever have buddies who fork up cash and then they're reaching out all the time like, hey, send me the money, send me the money, send me, like, it's like, maybe they have like a little bit of a lack pattern around like, they're scared, there's a fear around maybe not getting that money back, or they're spending the money. Then you have guys who are complete opposite. Maybe then you have, maybe people with patterns that are maybe more insecure. So you kind of see their pattern when they're out with people and how they operate and how they act. Maybe not as themselves because they feel like if they are themselves, people may not like them. That's a pattern.
Be shown, yeah.
Right. I notice, with certain people, like other realtors I talk to, sometimes they need the floor. They need to feel like they have the control. So then that's a pattern for them. And if they don't, it hurt. It really affects them. It's like a deeper kind of trigger for them. So there's times where I'll kind of pet the egos and stuff, and I make them feel like, yeah, you have total control, even though I still do, or I still have equal control of the situation.
Was that 48 Laws of Power, Chapter 6? Sounds like it, right?
I've not read that book. I need to read that.
It's not. I don't think
this
it's
is work I've done
6.
with my coach, though. One of my coaches. But honestly, it wasn't work of here's the patterns of people. It's like, Matt, what are yours? So I know what mine are. And understanding mine, I see if people have the same pattern as me, I see that.
Yes.
It's like the money thing, as an example. That was a pattern for me, just because I was raised. So I really see that in people, and it's more of an awareness. So I think understanding your own, because we all have that. And it's the patterns that get triggered by other people's actions. So if you feel really triggered by something, that's your pattern being triggered essentially. So it's like when you are triggered, it's like, why am I triggered? Okay, just because I have this pattern of mine. Is it real life? No. Is it this thing really happening? Or is it in my own head? It's in my own head. Okay, let's move on from now.
And did you learn that from like your self-development? So you're mentioning your coaches a lot too. Did they help you put those components in place to like the level of awareness to know when that stuff's happening? Is that where it's coming from?
I learned this the most in through relationships.
Really? Intimate relationships or friendships?
Intimate.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Because that's when your patterns really shine bright,
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
So touching further on the realty too, because that's an interesting thing. I said I wasn't going to talk about real estate, but I want to talk about this a little bit because I'm interested to get your perspective.
The market's crashing.
Interest rates
completely
are
crashing, actually.
No, but not that kind of real estate. The real estate in the way of the competition level, because it is a competitive industry to a certain extent too, and there's a certain level of real estate agents that are at the top, and then the rest are just like part-time. They work a couple gigs and they do real estate on the side, whatever it may be. But how do you deal with the competition or even the comparison of yourself to other realtors, or dealing with the navigation of how many people are traveling through that pursuit of realty at the same time, especially in Toronto, trying to battle for that top echelon? And how does that kind of work for you?
I mean, there's definitely realtors who operate with that. Like, I need to be the best, top. I kind of think of it with like the blue ocean strategy.
Okay, what's that?
The blue ocean strategy. Mm-hmm. So it's like how to really stand out in the competition. How to like a red ocean is like your business is at risk. People are coming for you. Your competitors are like in line with you, or they're surpassing you. Excuse me. Well,
yeah,
beer burp.
That's the beer. Yeah,
beer burp. Another one. Your competitors are surpassing you. They're out to get you. Like red ocean is like you're operating in like such a small space, surrounded by your enemy, essentially, surrounded by your competitor.
Okay.
And why? Because you're consistently like seeing what they're doing, or comparing what they're doing, or stressing about what the competitor doing. The blue ocean is like, let's just freaking kill it. I have all this water to swim in. None of the competitors are near me because I just elevated my brand, my company, everything so high that I can't even be touched for like a wide range, That's how I operate. I don't really sure, there's other agents who are a lot further in their career and at a place where I want to be. Those are the guys I watch, obviously, like the Ryan Serhants, things like that. Have there been times, I'm human, have there been times where oh shit, that video is so good, like I should have done that video. Yeah, no problem. But I'm not really like that. I feel like people will get crippled because of that. If you're consistently looking at other people and comparing, it's just what kind of emotions will that bring forth for you? Mm-hmm. Anxiety, maybe some jealousy, maybe you might start hating yourself. Why me? Victim mentality, all that. Versus spin it around. Okay, Ryan Serhant, the guy's absolutely crushing it. I want to be like that one day. What's he doing right? Let's do the same. That's how I work.
It's a sort of mindset, but then also those emotions, like those negative emotions, we're human. Like that's gonna rise up. If you're feeling that, like in anything, for anybody listening in any sort of way, if you're feeling that, like maybe you feel a little bit of jealousy. I hate that word, but maybe sometimes you yearn for that as well. You can take that, but with the awareness, like you're mentioning, you're just like, okay, let's take it as inspiration rather than jealousy. Because you mentioned the videos too. You do a tremendous job at doing the comedy videos with real estate. I've been a pleasure to help you with that. And somebody may make a funny video, but there's always the next video. There's always and I feel like that same method can be applied to so many different things.
For sure.
That's just now. There's still the future.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah. So there's many components to it. And it's an interesting thing. Real estate is a very interesting thing, and I see how you guys operate. But I want to ask you, what is one thing you love about real estate? What's one thing you hate about real estate? Is there? Have you ever thought about it?
So I love the flexibility. I love that I'm able to pursue my own childhood dream through the business as the vehicle. So for me, it's being on camera, the acting, being funny, all that stuff. I always wanted to be an actor or in movies and shit.
There you go.
Right? I'm sure you share similar.
Yes, big time.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's why you're doing stuff like this, because you're able to live that through, this is your vehicle.
It's your calling, it's your purpose.
That's why you love doing the skits with me, because it's the vehicle.
Yes.
So I love that part about the job, where I can just do what I want to do. And obviously, it's a high reward in the business too. If you work your ass off, high reward. If you don't work your ass off, risky business to be in. But it's I just love I love helping people. So when we get a deal done and I make that phone call, we got the house. Sometimes I'll start it off I got bad news.
Yeah, you were just messing with them.
I'll mess with them.
Yeah.
Which I gotta stop doing.
Which you probably shouldn't do that. Yeah.
It really some of them really get affected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm gonna stop doing
It's a high stress time.
high stress time for sure. I'm not gonna play around anymore. But yeah, just combination of those things. Like it makes me freaking happy, man. Like just to like, wow, I helped that family.
And how
You
about
know?
one thing you don't like? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's a very, very demanding job, but I love it. No, I love it.
So
There's nightmare days where shit's blowing up, but like, it's like that teeter totter.
exactly.
You're gonna have those high highs, but you're gonna have some low lows because what goes up must come down.
And bro, that's
Newton's
anything in
laws.
life. Bro,
You know?
it's everything in life. Anything that you do, any gig that you have, there's going to be those ups and downs. There's a lot of people managing that comes with real estate, having to manage social relationships, leveraging different relationships in a positive, productive manner. But I want to talk about relationships now. Let's talk about that. Let's get into it a bit. But not just relationships like intimate relationships. We can have many relationships, bro. We have relationships with people, with things, with materials, with money, with yourself. So I kind of want to unpack some of those things, but I want to start with the good one, the juicy one. What is your relationship with money?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned a little bit about it before with the upcoming stuff, but I want to kind of unpack it further. And I want to see, how does money play into your purpose, your drive? What is your relationship with money?
Strong. I think because of my upbringing and the lack of it. Something I have to work around too. Like I like seeing money in my bank, and then when I spend it, I get like like my overhead's crazy. Podcast business, the real estate business, full-time assistant. I'm a listing agent more than anything. So I list a lot of properties and, carrying those properties expenses until you get the sale done and until you close, which could be like 2, 3, 4, 5 months later, you got to front all that cash. So I'm getting like the biggest test with money by being in this job. But on the other hand, I've also been able to make a lot too because of the job I'm in. So, that relationship has like definitely been a journey with it for sure. Started off with the mindset of me as a human, me as Matt. I never thought I could make more than like 80 grand as an example. I remember when my dad said, he's like, why don't you become an engineer? They make like 80 grand. And in my head, I'm like, I can't make 80 grand. So it started off with like, I had a really, really, really like a lot of blockages around my potential and money. And now I'm trying to really convert and like transmute it all into like an abundant mindset, so then it's flowing. So now when I spend money, I try and be happy around that. Like I'm grateful to like even have this money.
Right.
I'm spending it. I'll get this back. There's like I think it's Japanese. It's a Japanese saying, arigato in, arigato out, like money in, money out. So the more you spend kind of thing, the more you're gonna get back, kind of vibe, right? In a way where it's like, especially if you're doing it in the right way, like the right kind of spending. For me, a lot of it is in myself and the business. So I've had to like come around the understanding of that. It's like, okay, spending a ton of money, but it's in myself, it's in my business, and this is all gonna come back down the road as this stuff flourishes. Because I'm still in a very big building phase in my career.
You would say so. So building, eh?
Building. It's always building, and the more you build, the more you gotta invest. It's an entrepreneurial journey, right? So, if you're the frugal type, it's kind of hard to grow. But if you understand that, okay, I got to spend a lot of money to make a lot more in the future. In the moment, it's like, can be high stress, especially if I had a really shit relationship with money growing up, which I did.
Yeah.
So it's been a big navigating challenge for me with all that.
It's funny because Conor McGregor says, I have a very unhealthy obsession with spending money, but I have a very healthy obsession with earning money. So I thought about that when you were saying that. And it's true, because what you're doing, there's so many components to it. Like you have a coach, you have all the costs in your real estate business, like podcasting, et cetera, all those things combined. All the media, right? So you have to front a lot of the cash. And I think that's what separates the entrepreneur from just the regular individual. The entrepreneur has to have that gall, that confidence in themselves, and that courage to spend that money, front that cash, whether it's on a building, on a property investment, to then ultimately believe or take faith that it will eventually return
Exactly.
to you.
And it's a longevity game. People fail because it's like, fuck, it's been a year. I've been spending all this money. I'm done.
Yeah.
2 years, I'm done.
Yeah.
Been doing price sell for 3 years now. Now we get sponsors.
See, that's
now we're getting some revenue.
Exactly.
Our YouTube videos, our field trips, our house tours, getting some revenue in that now, right? There's some monetization happening now. Took 3 years though.
Yeah.
3 years of just like spend. But the way this can grow the trajectory of this is huge.
And real
You know?
estate's a very brand friendly thing, bro. You're not very
Yes.
exactly covering controversial things. Like it's very ad friendly, so
Yeah.
it's lucrative. So long may it continue. Speaking about money too, in addition to that, do you think money is a part of your identity? And then in extension, do you value materials and things? Does that motivate you?
In the beginning, kind of. And then I started to get it. And now, no. For me, more so like my purpose would be like my parents. I just want to ultimately have like, fuck you money, sorry to say, and to just help my friends, my family, and people around me. Like nothing makes me more happy than like, hey, guys, we're going to go on a vacation. I'm covering everything. You know? Like shit like that. Like
That's a good feeling.
yeah, like, Ma, see this house? It's yours now. You know, things like that. Hey, Dad, you always wanted this collector car. Come out, see it in the driveway. You know what I mean? Or like, I got a new car. By the way, it's yours. Like shit like that.
You see those videos online. It's just like
Yes.
you get a good feeling from it.
Yes. Stuff like that I want to do. That's ultimately what I want to do. I've obviously treated myself. Watch, I got my dream car. Live in a dream condo right now. I have like my investment properties. But it's whatever.
But those things don't, like, because you do a lot of self-development work too, and like materials you can't take with you in your grave, but
No.
experiences and things, imprints that you leave on people, like you were alluding to, you can. Like
Yeah.
that's your mark on earth. So
Yeah.
you would say like materials and things and things of that nature, you don't value. That's not on the top of the totem pole for Matt Campoli.
No, not anymore. Used to be. Even my watch. Like I don't really wear it anymore. I just wear like simple clothes. I think traveling has done that, humbled me a lot. Like being in different like locations like Costa Rica and different parts of the world where I'm chilling with incredibly wealthy people and they're just so minimal, you know?
It's interesting how that
Yeah.
works, eh?
Like if it was up to me, I would just pretty much like sell everything off and just kind of live like super simple. I just think in this environment that we're in, especially my job, you know, it does help to have that image. It does. It does play a part.
And let's talk about it too, even as a man. How important do you think it is as a man to make sure you're financially equipped, financially free?
Generally speaking, massive.
Right.
We are the providers,
Right.
right? We're the providers. I don't want my future girl having to stress or worry. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a big thing. Like as a man, there's that sense of pressure to make sure that you're equipped enough to look after and lead, especially financially. But what do you think it means to be a man?
Interesting.
It's a good one, eh?
I think so to be a man, definitely gotta be like, you gotta be really in love with yourself and confident with yourself. I think you need to be able to take ownership in everything that you do.
That's a big one, integrity.
Yeah, take ownership in everything you do. Tell the truth, lead by example, and you know, be able to provide. Like carry that aura of you that you are that strong provider in general, and like people can come to you and rely on you and not expect anything in return.
I agree.
You
I
know?
think it's that beacon of hope, that sense of calmness, especially when we're talking about masculinity and femininity, and like the support that you can provide for your girl, which we'll get into too. But right before we do, I want to ask you about friends. Let's talk about friends now. We're talking about relationships. Let's talk about friends. We've alluded to it a little bit before. What do you think the components of a good friend are?
A good friend.
Yes.
So I think this is all, unique to each individual, I would say. But like, just speaking for myself, you know, some people who are on the same wavelength as you, who understand where you're at, who aren't envious and want the best for you, are also taking the steps to do that for themselves. And you're helping each other along the way, right? Someone who's like super supportive, someone you don't have to talk to for months on end and you can come back to and, you know, they're the exact same person. Someone who's not talking shit behind your back or, doing anything of that nature. Essentially, like your conversations with a good friend are fulfilling conversations that are consistently about, you know, what's good, how are we going to grow together? Like what's next for us? You know what I mean? How can I help you? How can you help me?
That support.
Right? Not any sort of like judgment or envy that you can feel off them because, you know, they want what you have, but they don't have it kind of vibe. or secretly want you to fail. You can sense that too.
Yes.
You know, even though it's unspoken, like you can sense that in people, but you can truly sense when people want the best for you. So I think if your proximity, like your close friend group, is very supportive and on that same journey, whatever it may be, I think that's the most important to me.
Yeah, when you talked about it too a little bit earlier on in the conversation about having to change your friend group, or it's kind of shrunk a little bit since as time has kind of went on. So how do you know when someone's no longer serving you, or they're just, maybe it's counterproductive to your life and it's getting to a point where it's more draining than not? How do you know when that's happening? How do you make that exit? Like, what's that been like for you?
Yeah, I think it takes time. It's not like a chill with one person once, like, oh, I'm done with you now. It's more like maybe maybe this could be a friend of like the past 10 or 15 years. But every time you chill, it's like, okay, like, you know, this isn't really serving me anymore. Maybe like we're evolving in our journey. It's like, I'm not really down to come out here and spend 3 hours in the garage and hacking butts, talking about nonsense anymore. Love my boys, love them to death. I'm using it as an example.
Yeah.
But I don't need to do this all the time. You know, and then I would tell them that. You guys, respectfully, I'm not going to come chill in the garage this weekend. I would rather, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to chill at home. If you guys want to come, I'm going to go on a hike tomorrow. If you guys want to rip the gym with me tomorrow morning, let's do it. But I just don't feel like I need to come to the garage anymore. You know, kind of things like that. I don't think you should like cut cold turkey. I think maybe by saying that to them, some of them might be like light bulb, like, shit, maybe Matt's right. Maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. You know, maybe we should. And then what happened, even if maybe they don't realize in that moment, you know, a year later, they might see the growth that you're having and be attracted to it. And maybe one of them might reach out on the side, be like, okay, Matt, I want to start coming to these things with you. I want to start coming to, you know, I want to do that run club you're doing. I want to do that marathon you're talking about. I want to come on that vacation that you said you were going on, that you did last year. You know, things like that.
Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier in the conversation too, when you try to help people, but they're not in that stage where they want to be helped.
Yeah.
But I love how you offer that alternative. Like, I don't want to do X, but you can come do Y with me if you want, throwing it out there. So when you're ready, you're more than welcome.
Yeah. Biggest thing I learned is like super simple, but like it's huge. It's like, you just can't change anyone. You can't force them to change. You can't expect them to change either. So only you can control yourself. That's it. The only control you have is with yourself. If you, and I've tried it where it's like, you know, take a buddy out. It's like, bro, like you're worth so much more than what you're currently doing. Like, read this book, do this, do this, do this. And they don't want to do it. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. They just don't want to do it.
They're not there yet. Maybe not now.
Exactly. But like, you shouldn't, like, you might, I used to stress out about like, he's not listening to me. Why isn't he, you know, but like, you can't control that. You can't control that. So I think, again, lead by example. If those who might see like, okay, I kind of resonate with what Matt's doing, I want to latch on to that. But again, not saying you need to like, you guys are the worst, I don't want to see you ever again in my life, like, don't talk to me. It's more or less like, love you boys, but this is kind of what I enjoy doing now and what I want to do. If you guys want to join in anytime, just call me, but you won't be seeing me around in the garage anymore.
So laying it out. I love how you communicate that, because, you know, there's some guys that won't. They'll just let it go.
I think a lot of people won't.
Yeah, they don't want to.
They're scared.
Yeah, they don't have that confrontation.
You're gonna have that. They're gonna get that chirps. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's too good for us now.
Yeah,
like the classic.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And that's normal. Like, that's a part of the journey too. And you laid some chirps back if you have to, but at the end of the day, you're being honest.
Yeah,
and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And the big one, the beautiful one, the last one here I have for you is intimate relationships. I want to know how intimate relationships have kind of changed you and made you who you are. You kind of alluded to it earlier in the conversation, but what has that been like for you?
Yeah, so I think just it's that mirror for yourself, you know, in all the relationships. Obviously, my first one, I was like super young. That one, I looking back, it was just like total wrong way to really go about it. I got broken up with, so I did all the partying, and it's like, let me just go get really jacked and like F you and like, you know, like all this stuff, go on the dating apps, like it was, you know, whatever. I had to go through it. I'd say my last one was definitely the most growth, I would say. Obviously being a mature adult and just realizing like, holy shit, there's a lot of things I got to work on. myself. So that's why I just took the deep dive. And the coach that I coach with now started off, she's a relationship coach, but she teaches everything, a lot of other things too. It started off with that. And it started off with like, hey, Matt, as you can, you're having the same arguments, doing this. This is a pattern of yours. There's two patterns involved, both sides, but let's fix yours. Can't fix the others, but let's fix yours. Let's work on yours. So a lot of shit, man, especially around like the whole integrity thing. Like this is like something like means a lot to me now because a lot of me wasn't integral. Not in a way where like no cheating, nothing like that, but like more so just like, you know, trying to avoid conversations or like certain things like this. And,
interesting.
Maybe feel like maybe not telling the whole truth to protect the other person, but that's actually not the right thing to do. You know, these are like true processes in my brain that I thought were good. And I thought they were like, these are actual things that I should be doing to help the other, but it's actually not. But I only, that's how I was programmed, you know? So just stuff around those patterns with myself where I think new values have like come through now. And now I'm like super like transparent, we'll say.
Okay. So was that one thing that you weren't really showing your full heart? Or maybe when you're talking about situations, you weren't giving the full thing because you're afraid of what possibly could happen from that?
A lot of fears. Okay. A lot of fears involved. Obviously, there's dynamics. There's a lot of context with relationships and stuff like that. I think just the dynamics I was in really brought that part out of me. Really brought it to the surface. And it was just a consistent thing. So if it wasn't for the relationship, I may not have uncovered that part that I needed to work on. So I'm grateful for it.
So this is pretty deep. Have you ever been in love? I know you've been in relationships, but do you think you were in love?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
How many times? So you had 2 relationships, you were in love both times?
3 relationships.
3 relationships, you were in love every single time?
It's tough. That's a tough question to ask.
What do you think it is? Like, what do you think it is? Because I think firstly,
there's
different
love. Vibes.
But it's different love though, right?
Different love.
So if you were with 3 different, you had 2, 3.
They're all different.
3 long-term relationships. Each one was different and
all
unique
different.
to itself. So that means each love was unique to itself. I had a hard time understanding that.
Different connections.
Okay.
Yeah, different connections. Some were deeper, some weren't. Yeah, very hard to like understand.
Is there like a feeling or a moment where you know you're in love?
For sure. I'd say so.
What do you think that is?
I just think when it's like you're just like completely lit up, your whole body's just like on, you know, all the emotions just running through. In that moment, you're like, holy fuck, like what is this feeling, you know? Yeah.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
How is it, so now just summarizing both friendships and intimate relationships, how have the 2 relationships kind of maybe affected the relationship with yourself? Have they blurred the vision with yourself or that relationship with yourself? Because now lastly, talking about relationships with yourself, how have those components played into your relationship with yourself?
I think it's just leaving a lot of like clues, you know, like kind of opening up the doors for me on my own journey. Opening the blinds. So here, Matt, we're going to show you this now. Here, Matt, we're going to show you this now. Do you want to work on it or not? It's like, oh, here's a huge window for you right here. Do you want to open it, go through it or not? You know, it's just like the awareness of like, here's the clues. Here's like this thing's a consistent thing with you. Let's unveil it. Let's work on it or not. Right. So I think then it's up to the individual if they want to go through that work. That it's like it's a process or not. Some people don't at all. They never think they're the issue, and they'll just go into the next relationship the exact same with the same result.
How sad is that though, bro? Because time is precious.
It is.
And that's what you're doing. If you're not confronting what it is that's in front of you, I always say you learn about yourself before relationship, your values, you establish everything there. And this kind of summarizes everything. You learn about yourself before relationship, your values, and who you are as an individual, Matt Campoli, Stefano, who you are. And then when you meet somebody, you learn about who you are with that person. So it's like an everlasting journey of learning. You're just learning, bro.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing all the time.
Yeah.
It's just, you're always learning. Because like you said, you're different connections with different people, but when you settle in with that one individual and then you learn about who you are with that individual, it's a beautiful thing because then you guys grow together. It is. It's
individually and together.
and together. Yeah, it's a duality for sure. How is Matt's relationship with himself last year?
Fantastic.
Yeah,
The best it's ever been.
I'm happy to hear that, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so much fun. Just fun, man. It's exciting. Wake up every day like pumped. To like yesterday I was stressing out about like what book am I gonna read next? You know? And I thought about it, I'm like,
So you're just dialed in with self-development always.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And it has to like whatever's resonating. So like as I'm going, different things resonate.
Mm-hmm.
Every moment's different, every month's different. But it's fun, man. Like a lot of cool things. Like life is like it's a game. I treat it like a game.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when like you're aware of what's going on and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, let's play this game like really good. I want to be like a good player in this game. I don't want to be an NPC.
Bro, I was watching
No one wants to be an
Matrix.
NPC.
I was watching Matrix for like the first time the other day. That's what you just reminded me of.
Yeah.
That was my first time watching it.
Oh, you never seen it?
I did when I was young, but then I started watching
True.
it again.
Different now.
So that's what it is. It's like literally it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. A lot of NPCs out there.
But what's an NPC again? The normal person? Like
No, non-playable character.
non-playable character. That's what it is. Okay.
There's a lot of NPCs out there. Don't be an NPC.
Yeah, we're
Don't
growing
do,
and we're
Don't do
learning.
the same song and dance all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very easy to fall into that trap, but
Yes.
with a level of awareness, which I think came up a lot in this conversation, and in order to attain awareness, you need to go through experiences and put the work in.
Yeah.
And it's a long game, and
It
I think
is.
that's kind of where we go next. Let's talk about lastly here, the vision. I know you've mentioned it to me personally, so I'm curious to generally ask you this question. I know real estate is a big component of who you are, but is that the long game forever? What do you want to leverage it to get to a next thing? What is the
Definitely
plan?
leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm having a blast right now. Like, I have a really small team. It's me, my assistant Jesse, and my buddy Chris, who's an agent with me. And man, we're all on the same page, and we're all having the most fun, just building out the business together, right? So I think for me, it's the continuation of that, building the leverage, and eventually I want to take more of like the CEO role, where houses are still being sold, the company's still selling a ton of real estate. I'm still elevating the brand, and building the culture and being a true leader for all these people and being there to help them. But ultimately, I'm able to buy a lot of my time back and not do like the day-to-day tasks of like selling houses, right? Let's build this incredible brand and establishment where people can now leverage what I've built and have access to be able to sell more homes and make more money themselves, right? So that's kind of like the vision of what I want to build. And then it's that, and then price to sell as a brand. We just really want to build that up to be one of the most notable like real estate media brands out there, real estate business.
So it's not only just a podcast. You want to build it as a media brand.
It's a brand, yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's a brand. That's why we have like the house tour as a part of it. We have, we sign talent, you know, kind of just want to grow that and build that audience. So what I love about that is that it's sellable.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sellable thing. My real estate business it's not sellable. You know, I like the idea of something that's sellable.
Yeah, that's true. Because prices sell. There's so many advertising ways and avenues, different avenues that you can go through.
Audiences.
Yeah.
The audience. People will pay a ton of money for an audience. So the goal of that is to keep building the audience as big as possible, build a real estate business, and then in the future, just, you know, kind of be that CEO kind of running the show and making sure everything's good and not really having to do like all the day-to-day tasks, but just I love business development. That's like my thing. I love it. I love being the guy like developing new ideas. How are we going to grow? What's going to push the needle next? And I'd love to have like a team of like C-suites, advisors around me ultimately. So I don't want to do this alone. In the beginning, I was doing a lot of this alone. I did this alone for like 6 years. It's boring, right? So I realized can't do this shit alone.
Well, long may it continue, bro. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning of the conversation, I appreciate you as an individual and
Likewise.
and what you contribute. And I think you're an authentic guy and they're rare to come by. So with that being said, I got to go to the final segment on Couple Casual Podcast, which we call Salute. Salute is the last segment where I give an opportunity to the guest today, Matty C, the house dealer, the host of the Price to Sell podcast and a genuine good guy. I give him the floor to end us off with words of encouragement, a salute, something you want to end us off with. I don't have a beer anymore, but
Did you finish it?
I finished it, buddy.
Ah, boy.
I crush.
Well, salute to the audience out there. Words of wisdom. Again, I usually when I speak on these things, I like to share what's like resonating with me
Sure.
in the moment.
For sure.
So share with you guys. I think work at your skill level and be okay with your skill level. You know, we're going to shut out the noise. You're going to see all these people and you know, are much further in their life and journey than you are. And you're going to get anxiety and you're going to feel like shit because you're not there and you compare. But you can be there one day. You're just not at that skill level to be there right now. So I think understand what your skill level is and just hone in on that and operate in that and do a really damn good job at that. And that's it.
I love it.
Operate within your skill level. Don't worry about all the noise. Don't operate below it. Don't worry about operating above it. You'll get there. Just stay in your lane. It takes years and years and years. And eventually you'll get there.
Keep growing, keep working. I love it, man. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you guys. All the support, all the love, all the viewing, all the watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, I love you, nobody else. Ciao.